Susan, could you tell us about the LDBBC? We'd like to know what the mission is of the LDBBC and what the primary functions are of the organization.
I'll start giving you a little bit of history of the organization, and then I'll move into the primary functions of the organization. According to the minute books, back in 1957, and that was a little bit before my time, it was formed as the Lebanon Valley Industrial Development Authority, and their primary function was to facilitate loans in the community. And then in the early 80s, the group got together and they had a little bit of a philosophy shift, and they decided to broaden their scope of work. So they renamed it to the Lebanon Valley Economic Development Corporation to define that they were going to take on more of an economic development role. And you know, our forefathers, when I'm reading back into the minutes from back in the 50s, you know, they really took pride in what they were doing for the community. And I think that moves forward with the organization as we move forward. I've been, like Ed said, I've been with the corporation almost 18 years. The corporation is a 501c3 and it's governed by a board of directors, and I believe I see a couple of my board of directors in the audience, so I appreciate that. So early on, when I'm looking back at the minute books, the group said, well, we could go out and visit with companies and maybe they'll need loans. Well, we kind of followed that vision on because meeting with companies in your area is, you know, very important. So since the inception of the organization, we continue to build upon that philosophy that a strong business helps to build a strong community. And our mission is to create and stimulate a local economy which provides a gainful employment and business investment opportunities not only for this generation but for generations to come. So you're probably thinking, well, what is the vision? And I think most of you know our mission because I'm familiar with most of you in the audience here today. But we like to describe it that we have 4 primary functions. We see ourselves as the county leader in economic development, and we facilitate economic development. As you can see in the mayor's presentation, in the pyramid, we're in every aspect of that pyramid. So we have a big role to fill. We're a conduit and we're a connector. We're where business growth and resources connect. That's our model. So our 4 primary roles are real estate development, financing, marketing, and workforce development. And I'm going to take some time to talk a little bit about each of those segments. But I think before I jump into those 4 areas, we need to start with something pretty basic. I think in order to have a strong, healthy economic community, we need to have strong relationships within that community, because healthy relationships are the key ingredient for economic development success. When community leaders work together as a team, we can have tremendous economic benefits. And I see a lot of that collaboration happening throughout the community. Steve spoke so eloquently about it earlier, that collaboration is the key to our success. And I truly believe that. So I'll start with real estate development. And I'm not, when I say real estate development, I'm just not talking about the bricks and mortar of development, but I'm talking about business retention, business recruitment, and expansion efforts. You hear a lot when you attract a new company to the county, and you want to do that because you want to diversify and strengthen your local economy. But the retention and expansion of existing companies is kind of the cornerstone of our economic development. So with the attraction process, that begins by building good relationships, and we do that by building relationships with global, national, and local real estate developers. We're fortunate right now in our county, we're working with developers like Jones Lang LaSalle, Hillwood Investments, Trammell Crow, C.B. Richard Ellis, Blackford Development, and that's just to name a few of the developers that we're working with. I met with a developer yesterday, and you know, they brought me their brochures on the northern part of the county is just exploding, you know, with development. But to have national developers out there marketing the county is saying a lot for the county, that we have a lot of good assets. For instance, Jones Lang LaSalle, they have $4.97 billion in total assets, and they have 200 offices with over 48,000 employees, and they have 3 billion square feet under their management. And they're working in Lebanon County with us, so I think that's wonderful. And we have a lot of homegrown agencies that we work with very closely as well. And they've worked hard to bring jobs and investment into the community. We work closely with the Governor's Action Team. Often when a company is looking to locate in an area, they'll go to the Governor's Action Team and say, we're looking for 50 acres, or we're looking for a 100,000 square foot building. We'll then get those leads at the organization, and then we'll put out the request for information. We'll send information back to them with buildings or land that will suit their needs. So having that strong relationship with the state is very helpful too. Our corporation keeps a database of sites and buildings so that we can respond to those needs in a timely manner. And we're kind of unique from a lot of other economic development organizations because we own industrial land. We have over 200 acres of industrial land, 3 business parks that we're working to develop in the county. Our Lebanon Valley Business Park is a positive and concrete symbol of growth. The park has over 21 companies, and those companies, just in that park alone, generate almost $1 million in taxes annually. And there are over 930 employees in that one industrial park. So that's one aspect. Financing, we're the area loan organization for the state, so we implement state loan programs. And our biggest portfolio, you probably don't think of this when you're thinking about industry or economic development, but our biggest loan portfolio is for the ag community. And recent projects that we financed, Hidden Still, Smith's Creek, like the mayor said, those are new destinations. And in order to make a lot of those projects happen, they need financing for the project. So we assist with that as well. We also assist with machine and equipment loan funding, a whole variety of funding that we're involved with. And then we also market our county because it is a good place to live, work, and play. And we do that through media sources, bus tours, trips every other year, showcasing the real estate that's available. And we also market through the Foreign Investment Office, through DCED. And then, I feel like I'm running out of time.
That's okay.
So I don't want to talk too fast. Just stop me. And then the other area that one of our primary functions is workforce development. And I really take that seriously because our mission is to create and generate jobs for not only this generation, but for many generations to come. So we have a lot of good people on the board, a lot of people that are interested in workforce development. So we, 2 years ago, we formed a workforce development committee. And that committee has made some movement. I said it's time to sit down and write our successes because there have been some good successes. We formed a Lebanon Valley Workforce Alliance where the workforce service providers come together. We meet monthly, we share resources, we know each other, we know what projects are out there. And then from that, Lebanon Valley College, PAC, and the Current Technology Center, they form closer relationships, and they're ready to unveil some programs that are going to be very beneficial for the workforce. Also in the process of forming a Lebanon Valley Manufacturers Consortium, many of the manufacturers reached out to me and said, we'd like to have a group because there's so many issues that we're all facing, and we'd like to work with them maybe in a collaborative manner. So we're looking at training opportunities, best practices, shared services, So there's so much going on in the workforce area as well. And I could go on and on, but those are my four
Okay, thank you.
topics.
Thank you, Susan. Next, we're going to move on to Chris Moonis. Again, Chris, as I mentioned, is the manager at Myerstown Borough. Many people here, Chris, may not know exactly what a borough manager does.
I'm not sure I know.
Okay. And especially from the standpoint of economic development. So if you could give us some idea, and then also let us know what is going on in Myerstown Borough from the standpoint of your involvement with economic development.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay, real briefly, I'm a Pittsburgh native, and I spent a little bit of time in the city of Greensburg in finance, and moved here to Central PA to work for the Pennsylvania League of Cities as a director of legislative affairs. Missed local government directly, so I went back and was assistant manager in Carlisle. Then I left and went to the private sector and worked for a Fortune 150 corporation for a few years. Missing again local government, I came back and we started back, my new career in local government was back in the Bloomsburg area, and I was helping a friend of mine consult on an issue here in Myerstown, and ended up staying and being offered a job as borough manager. My goal, the reason I was consulting with Myerstown was to find them a new borough manager. And that didn't work out so well for me because I ended up being the borough manager. But I'm very happy to be here in Lebanon Valley. It's a great place. It's a great place to live, work, and grow. And the role of a manager in a small town like Myerstown is to basically facilitate and develop those relationships, much like a mayor would do in a third-class city such as Lebanon. The borough manager is the day-to-day professional operations of the borough, and our council sets policy on a monthly basis, and then it's my job to carry out that policy. So, in a nutshell, I came to the borough because they were in a little bit of stagnation, would be probably the word to use. There hadn't been a lot of activity in Myerstown Borough in a decade or two. And when we were looking at the trending of population, median housing, housing values, employment, we saw that Myerstown Borough was trending downward. And it is a core community of a very rural area in eastern Lebanon County. And although it's not as big as Lebanon here, it does serve as a core community to that small region. And we're not very far from Lebanon. So they needed a paradigm shift. They needed a change in the way they viewed the town of Myerstown, what it could become. And that's why I accepted the job, because what is happening in Myerstown is that they've allowed me to put a staff around me that enables me to be freer to do things such as this and to look out for economic development opportunities that may come. And I'm just very happy to be there, because in the last 12 months we secured almost $1 million in state funding, and those are going to be very important economic development projects. I'll tell you one briefly. We received a $750,000 Keystone Community Grant, and that grant allows us to find a key parcel in the borough of Myerstown, central to Myerstown, that will allow us to move our municipal operations there closer to the downtown, and also allow us to open up about 36,000 square feet of space in order to do some economic development initiatives, one of which is a community center, a historical society, and a museum. But I think the most important part of that, and the expansion of recreational programs, the most important part of that facility is that we will be allowed to look at developing a business incubator. And that business incubator is something that we're very excited about, I'm very excited about. And maybe we can work with the county and with Sue's group and the city of Lebanon to help facilitate a regional approach to business incubation. One of the main things I heard this morning and last night was small business development. That is That is Myerstown. Myerstown has a bypass that goes around it that has lost its core community down Main Avenue. And our goal is to pass a alerted district in there, potential business improvement district. We are changing the zoning ordinance right now in order to allow small businesses to thrive. We're trying to put all these small tools, these pieces of a puzzle together in order to make Myerstown more attractive for a place for small business development, small growth. So we believe that incubator will help facilitate that. We believe these economic tools that we're going to put in place, like making a zoning ordinance that's less restrictive. One of the things I hear over and over from Lebanon Planning is that, oh, we have all these small businesses that come to us and want to do X, Y, and Z in Myerstown, and I have to tell them no. And the reason they tell them no is that they're following the strict guidelines of the zoning ordinance. So we have to change that. And that's all part of this paradigm shift that Myerstown's evolving into. And it will be a unique place to look at 10 years from now. And hopefully it will be very much coordinated with Lebanon City and Lebanon County, and hoping to develop the relationships not only within Jackson Township, which surrounds Myerstown, and the other regional municipalities, but also with the core community of the city of Lebanon. I also can talk.
That all sounds very positive, Chris.
I also can talk.
I'll give you 2 more chances, I believe.
Fair enough.
We are now going to move on to Alex Halper from the PA Chamber of Business and Industry. As I mentioned at the outset, Alex is the Director of Government Affairs. And Alex, for those who don't know, can you give us an idea of what exactly or how exactly the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry fits into our state economic picture, and give us some idea of what's going on with the Pennsylvania Chamber? If you want to focus on government affairs, you can. Entirely up to you.
I'd be happy to, and thank you, Ed. And I do want to thank Greg for the invitation to be here today. It really is a pleasure, and I appreciate the invitation. The Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry is our statewide chamber of commerce. We are a membership organization. Our members are employers in every county, every region throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Every industry, all economic sectors, and really of every size, from the largest Fortune 100 companies that you know of here in Pennsylvania, down to the very smallest of businesses, the mom and pop shops. So our primary focus at the Pennsylvania Chamber is advocacy. We are an advocacy organization, and what that means is working in Harrisburg, where we are headquartered in Harrisburg with some satellite offices around Pennsylvania. But we work, and my job as Director of Government Affairs is working within state government, with the state legislature, with the administration and all the various departments and agencies that make up the executive branch of our state government, working to encourage an agenda and advance a public policy agenda that is in the best interest of employers. Now, obviously, businesses vary significantly depending on the industry, depending on size. Different public policy matters impact businesses differently, and the diversity of our membership at times can constrain our agenda, because we, I would say, stay at a somewhat higher level of what issues impact the employer community in general. But it also gives us an opportunity. We have almost 9,000 members, but that size and diversity does give us a good opportunity to advocate, and when we're sitting with state legislators and others, and we can show the list of members that we have in their particular district, it is certainly helpful to help make the case. I'd also mention that among our membership are local chambers of commerce, including the Lebanon Valley Chamber, which has been a great partner of ours for many years. We have about 100 local chambers of commerce all over Pennsylvania that are members of the PA Chamber. And from my perspective, as someone who has worked closely with local chambers in public policy advocacy, local chambers are really, I would say, the most important segment of our membership. When we are engaged in some type of advocacy campaign, or we're working to move a bill through the legislative process or stop a bill from moving through the legislative process, sometimes there's only so much that we can do, and nothing is more, I'd say, powerful or compelling to a member of the General Assembly than when they're hearing from their own constituents. And what makes local chambers so unique and powerful is the network that they represent. And from my experience, what I've seen in this position, I've only been here for a relatively short amount of time, about 4 years, but when we've engaged in different campaigns, we are most successful when our network, and in particular when local chambers, are engaged and legislators know that there was going to be accountability back home, whether that means celebrating pro-business votes or actions in Harrisburg, or on the other side, accountability when a negative action is taken. That's critically important. Sometimes I feel like Harrisburg is like Las Vegas, where some legislators hope, what happens in Harrisburg stays in Harrisburg, and some of those actions don't necessarily trickle back home, and that's where I see local chambers as being such a critical component of the advocacy community as it relates to businesses and employers. So right now, there's a whole host of range of issues that we're dealing with, many of which relate to the state budget negotiations that are starting to really heat up in Harrisburg, at least we hope they are, and that's a focus of ours. But that's I guess a relatively quick overview of the Pennsylvania Chamber.
Thank you, Alex. Susan, we're going to go back to you here if we could. Susan, you deal with many businesses that are considering moving to Lebanon County. Some of those businesses obviously do, and some I would assume do not. Can you give us an idea of what the concerns are of both of those types of businesses, the ones that choose to move here, what they like, and the ones that don't choose to move here, what their concerns were, and what held them back?
When a consultant comes into our county and says they have a company that's looking at the area, a lot of times they'll give me a 20-page RFP, and they'll like that back in a week, pretty pronto. And so that's a lot of information to gather. But some of the top 3 things that they're looking for, and this has changed a little bit over the years. I was looking through the Area Development magazine, and corporations, when they're doing site selection, they'll look at labor, transportation, finance, and quality of life. Those are some of the bigger things they'll look at. And available buildings, lands, etc. When consultants look, they're doing site selections, they're ranking, and this was for 2014, their top 5 were highway accessibility, availability to skilled labor, labor costs, expedient or fast-track permitting, available land, and state and local incentives. And then number 7 is energy availability and cost. And I included that because that's one of the main things they're looking for now. So when a consultant comes in looking for the company, the first thing is what incentives are available. And right now that's the buzzword. Everybody knows that if you're not willing to put incentives on the table, they'll threaten that they're going to be looking, elsewhere. So we're fortunate right now that we have a lot of proactive business people in leadership positions. So we can put some tools in our toolbox that will help help Lebanon remain more competitive. Commissioners, schools, townships, often they're eager to help putting some of those toolboxes in our tools in our toolboxes. We've heard of LURDAs being established throughout the county, Keystone Opportunities being established, TIPs, which are tax increment financing. So those are all tools that are beneficial for us. And so that's one question. What are the incentives? Another question is, tell me about your workforce. Is there a skilled labor pool to draw from? Are there educational facilities in the area? And what's your average wage? So they're looking at workforce as well. And then they're looking for infrastructure. What are the costs for utilities, gas, electric, sewer, water, and how readily available are they? And what are the road accessibility like? How far is it to the interstates, the turnpike? So in Lebanon County, we're actually we're closest to 500, within a 500-mile radius. We have 4 of the 9 major markets in our close proximity. So that plays a key role in when a company is looking here. And then our permitting process. We're very fortunate that Lebanon County Planning can get permits through in a timely manner. A lot of the other counties struggle with that. They say sometimes it's a whole year till we have permitting. So that's beneficial for us as well. And we're fortunate to have some good engineers in our county too. Work closely with Steckbeck Engineering. Jeff has been great to work with, Matthew and Hockley, and they really help too. They know what's out there, they know county planning, they know the permitting regulations, so those things are helpful. A lot of the companies that maybe don't come to the county would be, sometimes it's where they want to live, you know, and sometimes it's, they'll narrow it down to 3 or 5 choices. And, you know, we work closely with them, but we don't always hear why they didn't pick us. We don't track that.
Thank you, Susan. We're getting a lot of great answers with a lot of substance, so if we don't get through all the 9 questions, it's totally okay. As long as we continue to get a lot of quality here, as we are. Chris, we want to come back to you. Kind of a similar question. As a manager at the borough level and with Myerstown Borough, how do you sell Myerstown Borough? And that will certainly lead to an answer about positives. And also, what are the difficulties of selling in Myerstown Borough?
Thank you. Again, as I stated in the last response, a lot of the things that we deal with are perception issues, and one of the things and relationship building, and one of the things that we've lacked in Myerstown is a branding of Myerstown. It's a small bedroom community. It is the urban center of eastern Lebanon County, but eastern Lebanon County is essentially farmland. And the branding of Myerstown has been our first step. We are going to rebrand Myerstown, remembering and having full consideration for the Pennsylvania Dutch heritage that's in Myerstown and the Myerstown community. And part of one of the grants that we're expecting to receive will give us funding to help that marketing and branding, rebranding campaign of Myerstown. I think it's an important point. We have 32,000 cars, I think it is, traveling between 501 and 422 on a daily basis. So 32,000 cars, and most of them don't stop. I mean, they might stop at Turkey Hill because apparently that's the busiest Turkey Hill in their corporation for some reason in Myerstown. I don't know why that is, but maybe it's the right distance between Reading and Lidditz and Lancaster and Lebanon. But it's a town that people drive through and drive past, and they don't generally stop and take a look at what Main Street has to offer. And the bypass, while it's a good thing, has actually hurt the economic development of the downtown because a lot of those businesses did not get the type of traffic that they were accustomed to pre-bypass. And in Lebanon, fortunately, the 422 goes right through the heart of Lebanon, and that's a good thing, I think. But we need to work on imaging and branding to get people to want to stop. We don't want to be the next Lidditz. We will never be the next Lidditz, but we should be a stop on the way to Lidditz and Lancaster and Lebanon and Reading. It is basically in the middle, and You know, we talk to people in the business community. There are 600 people working at Bayer Corporation in Myerstown. I don't know if you